You're listening to the Health Powered Productivity Podcast by RaderCo. I'm Marcey Rader, founder and chief productivity lead. This podcast's mission is to give you and your team bite-sized, time-saving, focus-boosting, health-improving tips that you can implement right away. Now, on with the show. Today, we'll talk about when and why to sunset a program, a project, or a group you belong to. A while back, my former business coach, Shauna Van Bogart, revealed something fascinating during a group live stream. She talked about the numerous times she decided to burn down her business. Not, actually setting it on fire, but about closing unsuccessful and successful and profitable ventures. It's not that they weren't doing well, but because they didn't align with her vision anymore. She is very transparent when she has pushed out a campaign and it didn't go well, and she'll say yeah, this was a total flop. And I think that's really important as business owners to hear these types of things, because we did a 3 email campaign for the email action plan this spring, and we got nothing out of it. And sometimes it's timing, sometimes it's the way we market it, but it's refreshing to hear other business owners say, when something doesn't work. But she's even closing down something that is working well. The Mind Over Matter program, which I'm part of, it's profitable. It's a big part of her business, but it doesn't align with the direction that she wants to go. And she let us all know she's burning it down. And it was kind of a shock and also inspiring. And she posed this question and asked us, if your house burned down, would you rebuild it the same way? Well, I know I would not. I live in a 1-bathroom house, and I would definitely have 2 bathrooms. And thought, if I were to burn down several different things, our services, our programs, our materials, why would I replicate it with an outdated model when I have the chance to improve? So this new perspective got me thinking about all the programs I'm part of. And one of them was I was leadership for a local chapter of a national organization for women. And I gave it a year. I did it as a business, part of my business builder. While I met some great people, it didn't do anything for me to see ROI for my business. So I stepped down from it, and it allowed me to have a free time slot for something more meaningful to me, which was treasurer of the Work Meaningful Foundation, no pun intended. And so I was swapping one hat or, one block of time for another. And so my lesson earned there, and we like lesson earned because we earn those battle scars, is always create a timeline to reevaluate any group you're in. If you weren't a part of this group and were asked to sign up today, would you? I know I have stayed in groups too long before. And so this is something I'm always going to set a deadline from now on. And then we also looked at our training materials, and they had grown into a mountain of resources. For all of our workshops, trainings, speaking engagements, we give what we call go-to guides, digital resource guides, to everyone. And we give power tip sheets to middle and higher tier packages. And I showed the examples of both to my mastermind back in the spring, and they all agreed too much. I was giving away too much. They were overwhelming. And really, they had become more of an obstacle course than a help desk. And if you're familiar with Strengths Finders, I am a maximizer. And so I was just adding and adding and adding to it. And besides that, our director of marketing, Lisa, she had inherited the template from our former pro, Rhea. And, they didn't even really, make Lisa all that excited. They weren't hers to begin with. And we just kept adding to them. We never really thought about how we would redo it. And I thought, if Canva, which is where we made them, disappeared tomorrow, would I rebuild them the same way? Nope. So I brought our amazing branding specialist, Annie Franceschi. If you like our branding, she is at Greatest Story Creative. brought her on board again to help us make sense of the guide and recreate it in a more streamlined and user-friendly way. We ended up actually really stepping back, and we changed it to our power tips. Everybody gets power tips, and only middle and high tier get go-to guides, and we completely redesigned them. I also sent the guides to about 5 or 6 people and got their feedback and just said, if you were to get these, how would you feel about them? And one meeting planner sent me back the best feedback. She really took the time to go in and look at it, and I took it all to heart, and it was so useful. So our lesson earned there is regularly seek fresh eyes to review your materials and ask yourself, if you were to recreate them from scratch, would they look the same? Now, I had already decided to sunset the Work Well, Play More Masterclass. This was a program, it was a year-long group coaching program that had the unfortunate demise of starting in April 2020. And that's just when it was going to launch, and that's when it did, and boom. So it was based on the book, my book, about behavior change and productivity, clutter, and health in levels of novice, pro, and master. And in that year, it included 4 to 5 live streams every month, and you would have access to the recordings. It included interviews and then Ask the Expert sessions. And the initial enrollment was low, and I partially blamed COVID and the world's uncertainty just 2 weeks after the pandemic start. But then after the first year, when that year was up, the course was offered as a self-paced 1-year course with live Ask the Expert sessions. So it was all just the recordings. And it was still a low return on investment for me. But it quickly became outdated because the recordings referred to the pandemic and being stuck at home. And there was no way you could do a group program in 2020 and not have it refer to the pandemic. The sessions were also 25 to 45 minutes, which isn't long if you're live, but it is long for people if they're watching recordings because most people want micro learnings. So this year in March, I decided to sunset that program when the last person signed up would reach their 1-year mark. So I took the website down, removed references in my materials, and sent a notice to current participants. Lesson earned. Just because something is mostly automated doesn't mean that the cost of running it or keeping it on the platform is worth it. Also, anybody that bought it new, it would feel outdated immediately because I'm referring to the pandemic. And that could even be triggering for some people. We still had to maintain the site. We had to host the Ask the Experts. We send marketing and group emails with very little coming my way as a positive feedback loop. Now, don't get me wrong. I loved the program, but it wasn't worth the effort I put into it to keep it going. The latest sunset was to my beloved Focus 90 program. So why am I burning down a program that I love? Well, I started it about 8 years ago as a free program and started charging about, I think it was maybe 3 years ago. It was a once-a-week program of virtual co-working. We would get on Zoom, I'd give a productivity tip, everyone would write in the chat what they would be working on in the next 80 minutes, and we would work silently until the time was up. We'd write in the chat what we accomplished, I would give the productivity tip again. It is a form of body doubling, performing a task next to or with someone which helps you stay focused. There are many reasons what makes you more likely to stick to the task that I don't need to go into here, but trust me, it worked. And so I offered lifetime access for $99 when it went from free to paid. And several people didn't want to pay at all, and they dropped off. And sidebar, I could go on and on. I could go on a soapbox about the mistake of free programs and lifetime memberships. And that business coach of mine, Shauna Van Bogart, she would agree. Because I did a lifetime membership for hers a few years ago, and what I paid lifetime is what she charges per month now. But then there were many others that grabbed the deal. And since then, I've had subscriptions ranging from $14.99 to $24.99 a month. I included Focus 90 Days, monthly Ask the Expert sessions. And this year, my travel schedule started getting pretty heavy from May through July. And I realized that I either wasn't able to fit in a session every week for people, or I was giving up a valuable coaching slot time for my clients, which are paying me significant money. And that's not fair to them, and definitely not what makes sense when looking at revenue generating activities. It also happened to be at times of day when I didn't have a lot of focus. My magic time is in the morning, and I was trying to work with multiple time zones and what the Focus 90 community wanted, which was sessions between 1 to 3:30 p.m., and those are my prime coaching hours. And when I made the decision, it's actually easy. I looked at the revenue I was generating and the time I was spending, and I asked myself, if I knew how much money I would make before I invested the time and energy into this program, would I start it over again? Nope. Was I happy about my time over the last 8 years? Absolutely. I know it's not all about money, but remember, this was time, energy, taking something from my coaching clients. I wasn't even breaking even. And as a responsible business owner of a company that employs others, I needed to reevaluate my time. And I could not justify something that wasn't profitable. And, we reached a revenue milestone this past year. And when I look at should a business owner, CEO, be spending their time and, in this area, the answer was a big no. So my lesson earned: review money and time ROI on programs every year. And I will continue the program if I have time and revenue coming in that supports it, if it's, and maybe consider it a give back if that's the case. And, we launched the playbook in November. I will continue to look at that and decide, is this worth the time and money and investment to continue the playbook? My talk of burning down the masterclass and Focus 90 and not even rebuilding it from ashes like I did our go-to guides inspired my little bestie, Lily Farrick, to burn down a weekly check-in we had been doing since 2017. Every weekend, Lily, my brother, and I would text each other our peach, pit, and fuzzes for the week. We would text something good, something not so good, and something unexpected. And we started this while doing the Freedom Journal several years ago. I think it was 2017. And I got the peach, pit, and fuzz prompts from when Lily and I were in Savor the Success Mastermind. And Lily said she felt like the check-ins had run their course and she didn't need them anymore. And I had been thinking a little bit the same, but we were just in habit. And I hadn't brought it up. Did it work those years? Yes. Was it helpful? Yes. But would we restart it again if we stopped doing it for 3 months? Nope. So our lesson earned: set a date and regularly decide as a group if you want to continue. And this can keep you from feeling like something is a chore or isn't adding value to your life. So I invite you all to take a look at everything in your life, from your programs, your services, your materials, the groups that you belong to. Maybe it's a relationship. Is there anything that needs to be burned down and rebuilt from ashes? Or maybe something that has served its purpose and needs to see the sunset. Change can be intimidating, but also a catalyst for growth. Thank you for listening to the RaderCo Health Powered Productivity Podcast. The resources mentioned are linked in the show notes. We encourage you to check out our recommendations page on helloraderco.com/recommendations, which lists all our favorite products and services. If you found this podcast valuable, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone you know that could benefit. If you want an eye-opening process to plan and reflect on, giving you the superpowers to see your remarkable accomplishments, experiences, and key lessons earned along the way, check out our Powered Path Playbook. It's an interactive digital course and analog tool that leverages your past and powers your future. helloraderco.com/playbook. Many of our listeners use our podcast as discussion points for team meetings. If you want tailored team training or coaching, reach us at helloraderco.com. And lastly, if you're looking for more bite-sized tips, get a sneak peek of my latest book, Work Well, Play More, Productive, Clutter-Free, Healthy Living, One Step at a Time. It's 1 year behavior change in productivity, clutter, and health in novice, pro, and master levels. It's waiting for you at helloraderco.com/gift.